It's the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Blond, and welcome back to this lovely Sunday morning, coffee in hand, water to keep my whistle wet. Was a whistle wet? Wet. Keep your whistle wet. Wet your whistle. Have you heard of that term? It is a term. I'm not making that up. So it is a legit term. Welcome to the Overrated Experience. You can follow us on Twitter, aka X, at Overrated EXPER2. And let me just take that sip of coffee to pump me up, get my caffeine fix. Here we go. We're dropping in a quick podcast, looking at this Sunday, fine Sunday here, spring Sunday, and all the action in the NHL and the NBA and other sports that are coming up throughout the week. Give a little preview, a little look back on some of the news and happenings, and look at some of the big bets to make today and beyond. So let's get going. Well, you know, the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast is born in the city of Toronto. Known, if you think of Toronto, you do not think of Drake. You don't think of the CN Tower. You don't think of the Raptors. You think of the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast. And I want to bring you the local stuff to show our passion for the city, a passion for the sports scene. And nothing gets bigger than the passion when the Leafs fail in the playoffs in the NHL, and the excuses and the direction to take going into next year, and all the promises that are made or the look ahead we have, and our take. And we're going to give it to you right now. So on Friday, Maple Leaf management from Keith Pele, who's the new head honcho of MLSE, the ownership group that owns both the Leafs and the Raptors, and TFC and the Argos, for those who know who the Argos are. Brendan Shanahan, who's the president of hockey operations, has been here since the beginning. When I mean the beginning, 9 years ago, when they decided to burn things, scorched earth, burn things down, focus on the draft, stick with this core group up until now. And wow, things have changed. No, things have not changed. This is exactly the same spot they were 9 years ago. Well, let's say 8 years ago. And then Brad Treliving, the general manager, heading into his second season. So 2 out of the 3 guys on the panel are somewhat new and have their hands clean to what this roster configuration looks like, except one guy, and that is Brendan Shanahan. So to begin my tirade, to begin my outlook on what we heard on Friday, where this team needs to go or what should have happened, we already know that Sheldon Keefe, organization for 9 years, Leafs for 5, head coach, was let go, and that move makes sense. Could not get the team over the hump, could not get the playoff run that they were looking for, regular season, fantastic. And when you look at Sheldon Keefe, as far as his coaching ability, I don't have any question about his competence when it comes to being an NHL head coach. I don't have any doubt that somebody else in the NHL will find Sheldon Keefe a valuable coach to bring on. In fact, I heard the New Jersey Devils seek permission to speak to the Toronto Maple Leafs, who signed him to a 2-year extension, by the way. Idiots. Heading into this year, so he can decide, hey, I want to sit at home and get paid, or take the opportunity to get behind the bench of another NHL team, which I think he will within the next couple of years. But if I were him, I'd probably give it a year or so and have him be able to pick and choose his spot. But nevertheless, this is about the Toronto Maple Leafs. So one shoe drop, coach out. Makes sense. Had to happen. Now, what should have happened on Friday was Brendan Shanahan coming out, advising that he was going to hand in his resignation and walk away from this team. This team is in a bad situation right now. Again, if we go back to the goal is to win the Stanley Cup and use somehow this, or at least a portion of this group, then this is a tough offseason to make the moves that they feel, or maybe have come to the realization that they need to make. So let's hear from Brendan Shanahan. Let's hear from his thought about the core of this group and if he believes they should return. Now keep in mind, he was a starch believer that this group, this core, could get the job done. This is his taking. whatever decisions that Kyle Dubas made or Brad Treliving made in this offseason, it is this man that put them in this position. This man that signed off on the pathway of what to do going into each of these seasons over the past 8 seasons. So let's listen to Brendan. Let me just take a little step back. Let's listen.
Do you still believe this core group can win, and if so, why?
Well, that gets back to the essence of the opening statement. I think that when you, there's a time, again, not to repeat myself, but there's a time where you look at the age and the development of players and you talk about patience. And then there comes a time where you see certain patterns and trends repeat themselves. Results repeat themselves. And that's what we have to do this summer. Without getting specific, I've said earlier, it's not our intention here today to single any one individual out or any one small group of this team out. We're talking about the whole team. What we are saying is that it has certainly become evident that we have to assess all of those things and assess whether or not we have to make some very difficult decisions this summer to make the team better.
All right, so that's Brendan Shanahan talking about the core of this Toronto Maple Leaf team. If you want to understand who the core is, I'm going to put 5 in there, not 4. You have Austin Matthews, you have Mitch Marner, you have John Tavares, William Nylander, and yes, Morgan Riley. Defenseman Morgan Riley. And based on what Brendan Shanahan stated here, it seems like there is this epiphany that, oh, the guys I hitched my wagon to and believed in maybe are not suited, or this mix makes sense to go where we want this team to go. Or is it more that, all right, I have no more BS to spew. I don't think anybody's going to stomach me saying that I believe in this core. And I feel that I have to kind of give the answer that people want to hear. Instead of saying I was wrong, I was in error, I was married to this idea and I could not admit this change course well ahead of when I needed to change course. There was no flag, in some of those series losses against Boston previous, not just this one. You tell me 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, if I hope I got that right, when they couldn't get by Columbus in a play-in game during the COVID year, they had half the tournament going through Toronto. And they couldn't get by the Blue Jackets to make the playoffs. COVID year where they had the Canadian division and blew away all the Canadian teams in that division, and then blew a 3-1 series lead against the Montreal Canadiens with the same core. You tell me 2 years ago or 3 years ago, whenever I can't recall when the COVID season occurred, that wasn't the sign? That wasn't the signal that, wow, maybe we do not have the core group. Again, if our goal is to get to the Stanley Cup final and actually win this thing, is that not the goal? Keith Pelley earlier in this conversation stated, we're out here just to sell jerseys. Well, is that what you have been doing up until this point? That those Mitch Marner jerseys and Austin Matthews jerseys are bringing in hell of a revenue? You like these stupid commercials that Morgan Riley does, so we will hold on and not make a change? Or did you just not have the balls, to actually make a tough decision to put yourself out there and risk that maybe you made the wrong decision but could live with it because you knew that no matter what you did with this core group of players, it was not going to get the job done? Okay? It was not going to get the job done. You made a coward hockey decision, or let's say you lacked making a hockey decision. And I'm just talking about hockey here and management of hockey. When I say coward, by the way, it was a coward move or lack of not to look at this team years ago when the opportunity came up, where there was no trade clauses yet invoked in contracts, which there are now, contracts kicking in, that you did not make a key decision to actually shake things up, to take a different way and a different approach. You were married to the idea, and your resignation should have been on the table at this press conference. An apology to the city of Toronto. I'm sorry, but Brendan Shanahan should have walked away and moved on. It's not going to get pretty here. Now you're stuck. You're forced. Your hands are tied. Because I tell you right now, if you do not make significant moves here and take chances with at least 2 of these 5, then I'm out. I will look at the Leafs like any other team as a betting option based on trending through the regular season. But if they do not make a significant move with 2 of those 5 that I mentioned, I will be out, and I'll come back during the conference final if you ever make one. But if you are on the clock right now, Brendan Shanahan, you are on the clock. And it's amazing. If you look at the FanDuel right now and you look at some of the lines that are out there, and for the next Leaf head coach, at least was out there. Where is it going next? Head coach. So you look at the Toronto Maple Leafs, there's actually lines out there that Craig Berube, former coach of the St. Louis Blues, Stanley Cup winner, is minus 145, the heavy favorite. Here's a trend here, by the way, guys. Recently fired. Todd McClellan, plus 100, is the second favorite. Recently fired. Actually fired multiple times in the last few years. He had Connor McDavid. He had the LA Kings. He had the San Jose Detroit Red, like whoever, Sharks, etc. He's been fired multiple times, and he's your second top-rated betting favorite to take over the Leafs. Dean Evison, plus 1,100, far down the list, fired from the Minnesota Wild. What did he do with the Minnesota Wild that would put him in contention to take this team over the hump? Gerard Gallant, interesting choice, also fired though, but the guy I would see that would probably out of this group make a big difference, Guy Boucher. Guy Boucher, number 5 on this list. Guy brought in to assist Sheldon Keefe on the power play, and that power play was dog shit. Dog shit. This team is built to outscore their opponent. That's simply what they are. But that's not simply what they were. And Guy Boucher even getting a sniff at the head coaching job for the Toronto Maple Leafs is a joke. Jay Woodcroft, plus like 1,100, run out of Edmonton. Couldn't take them over the hump, but yet he's potentially in the mix. Finally, Rob Brindamore shows up here, plus 1,500. And the only reason why he's down the list is the thought he'll resign in Carolina. Has not taken that team to where they need to go, but yet an interesting choice. Bruce Boudreau. Like, how could possibly there be consideration of Bruce Boudreau? Yeah, nice choice. Local guy, loves the Leafs. Basically, Rick Tocchet in Vancouver came in, turned the organization around with this pretty much the same core of players. In the second round now, battling out with Edmonton, and basically cleaned up Bruce Boudreau's mess. Really? Come on, guys. Let's get creative here. Wow, like the Leafs are on the clock here with me, and I've had enough. So that's my local sports team rant of the day. And that's what you get here when the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast. Passion, rage, and a little bit of profanity. So tie it all together, and that's what you get for this podcast. Now, looking forward and transitioning to the actual teams left in the playoffs that are actually playing meaningful hockey still, let's go to the Stanley Cup odds as they sit live today. So Stanley Cup champion, last time we were on, the Carolina Hurricanes were heavy favorites. And in this podcast, I said, don't watch out for those Rangers. They provide value. And the Rangers snuck in to grab the lead for odds-on favorite to win the Stanley Cup. But we see a change at the leaderboard here as far as odds. The Florida Panthers now, plus 310, have taken the lead as the Stanley Cup favorite. Only hold a 2-1 series lead against Boston with Brad Marchand day to day. I think that contributes to this line. The Dallas Stars plus 330, slightly behind. And they held a 2-1 series lead over the Colorado Avalanche. Interesting enough, the Rangers, who are third on this list at plus 380, are in a situation where they're up 3-1 against Carolina. First playoff loss yesterday, but yet fall third. You got to believe that they're going to wrap up that series against Carolina. And both Florida and Dallas are not out of the deep end just yet in those series. Would you really be shocked if the Boston Bruins won that series? Would you be really shocked that the Colorado Avalanche just don't come back and destroy the Dallas Stars, who have been very impressive compared to the first two games against Vegas in that opening round? Things have turned around. They're old guys. The Tyler Seguin's example. He's scoring clutch goals, big goals, and game-winning goals yesterday. Game-winning goal against Colorado to take the series lead. So watch out for that team. And we truly have, the top 8 teams left. We didn't have really much of an upset in round 1 of the first. And I think the second round has benefited by not having a weak team that scraped through into the second round. And we got some great matchups, and we're seeing them play out. And I think these Stanley Cup odds will bounce around on a daily basis, depending game by game. And it's actually been a pretty good playoff. I was fearful at the end of the first round that we've seen a string of games that were low scoring, no scoring into the third period. That seems to have turned around. We've seen some good scoring, good opportunity. If you watch that Dallas-Colorado series, they're flying up and down, good scoring chances, good goaltending, great action. So things are healthy. I was a little scared there, but things have bounced back. So interesting stuff. Now, if you look at the individual playoff series, do you really think Carolina's going to come back? They're plus 470 right now. Rangers are minus 670. I got to believe they're going to wrap this up when they go back to MSG in Game 5. But they got 3 cracks at it to knock off the Hurricanes. I think the Rangers have no fear at the moment. The way their team is constructed, they've gone on a few playoff runs. This is not new to them, and they will eventually take out Carolina. Okay, so I think that there's nothing to bet there in that series. Boston, Florida. Boston is plus 420. I wonder what this would look like right now live, being down 2-1 with a game to play today, where Brad Marchand is confirmed if he's out or he's in. I think the plus 420 is assuming he is not playing, and he makes his team go, no question. Pasternak is a game breaker, but Brad Marchand is their Kachuk. It's simple as that. Matthew Kachuk for the Florida Panthers makes that wheel go around, even though they have a Barkov and other guys. Marchand is that guy for Boston. So if he's not playing, it's going to be tough sledding. Florida's minus 580 to win the series. In today's matchup at 6:40 Eastern Standard Time, the Florida Panthers are minus 160. These over-unders have been hitting in this series. One side is kind of, paced at the other. Florida's gotten 2, Boston's gotten 1. So when I'm looking at it over 5.5 a plus, even money, I'm going to jump on it again. Again, 3 games, 3 overs. Let's do it. So that series, there is value on Boston. No question about it. Plus 420 might be, okay to sprinkle a couple dollars on there. So I think the value is still there. You look at the Edmonton-Vancouver series. This series can go back and forth. Late third period change, two straight overtime games. This is a coin flip. Both teams could be easily 2-1 either side. And right now the series is back in the favor of the Edmonton Oilers. Minus 260. Vancouver's a plus 210. And what do we think here, right? What do we think here? I think the Game 4 where the Oilers are playing at home, I think puts a significant advantage as far as home ice advantage. Today, okay, before we go to the series, let's go to today. The over 6.5 is minus 104. Unders minus 118. Canucks are dogs at plus 160. I think the value today is on the Nucks And I think the series right now, even though I was low and I thought Vancouver was kind of maybe satisfied coming into the playoffs for having a hell of a bounce back year, Rick Tocchet's not going to take any of that. I got to believe that Vancouver is where the value is here. So Vancouver today, and then you have plus 210 in the series. Probably wouldn't touch it yet, but Vancouver's got some value. And then going to the Stars, Avs, Game 4 coming up tomorrow on Monday. And we have Colorado plus 210, which is a huge value. Even though the Stars are rolling right now, huge value in that matchup. So I'll take the Colorado Avalanche, like the value there. And then we have the game on Monday. We had a bit of a lower scoring 4-1, 2 empty netters last night, but I got to believe the scoring is going to pick up. I would probably parlay it with alternative totals with the Rangers game on Monday to go over 4.5. Let's do that. Let's do the live parlay and see what we would get on this. So if you do the Rangers, Carolina Monday night, alternative numbers, alternative goals, sir, let's say. Let's do it. And this is live, folks. There's mistakes that happen live as I'm scrolling through. I put some music on so that you can, no dead air, but let's go through the alternative totals. I don't have it yet. Well, I'm not seeing the alternative totals yet. But what I did yesterday and would do again today is alternative total over 4.5 Rangers Carolina and shift it to a minus 5.5 Colorado Dallas, and you'll get a nice plus number in there once that becomes available. So that's my take on the NHL right now. Is there any other thoughts I have on the NHL? No, I do not have any takes on the NHL, and we're going to shift over to basketball. NBA's been flying as well. Some good series there, starting with the Knicks. The Knicks are everybody's favorite right now, and they kick off at 3:30 today without OG Anunoby. The spread was 7.5-ish in Game 3. They covered that. I don't know why it took the over-under instead of the spread, which I knew was too high. I think they over-accounted for the loss of OG Anunoby, which would have most likely helped me in the over I took of minus, was it 212? Yeah, it was 212. And both sides went ice cold in Game 3 in the fourth quarter. The pace, if you look at your lines, you can see that each sports book, or the majority, or at least a good sports book, will tell you what the projection is as the game's going on. I had the over locked in Game 3. So 209. I'm going back in time. It's insignificant now. But that they went ice cold in the fourth quarter. I don't know if the pressure was on, but that's where OG Anunoby would have made a difference, I think, in the fourth quarter and got me the over. I was really disgusted by it. The Knicks were in this ball game. Indiana squeaked through, and OG was missed. And if he's going to miss Game 4, I got to believe Indiana's going to pull this out. But again, I look at the spread at 5.5, and I say to myself, can the Knicks cover this? Why can't they? Even though I like Indiana, I still might lean toward taking the Knicks on the spread. Jalen Brunson, this team has something going on. They're sticking with it. They're hustling. The only if factor for the Knicks is if they're too banged up. How hurt is Jalen Brunson? We've seen him have to leave Game 2, come back, Knicks win. He's balling here in Game 3. But how banged up? How far can he go? How beat up his body? And his game is to go to the rack, make key shots. And if you just, if he's bruised up, how effective will he be? The McBrides, the DiVincenzo's, they got to hit their threes. The Knicks are ballers, and I got to stick with the 5.5 here. Got to stick to the 5.5, so I'll take it. 219. Oh, man, it's almost like I'm tempted to wait until the end of the third quarter and then smash the under if this game turns out like it did in Game 3, where, you're looking at the time we hit to the fourth quarter. I think it was hitting 228, 230, and then hit the under like it was in Game 3 where things go ice cold, pressure's on, a lot of shots missed. Teams are going on runs of not scoring points in 8 minutes, etc. So maybe I'll wait for the over-under total there, but stick with the Knicks plus 5.5 to kick off this game. Good series, though. fun series. Indiana is taking advantage of the injuries to the depth of the New York Knicks. And if you look at the series, the Knicks are still heavy favorites. And just for health alone, the Indiana Pacers a plus 186 in the series might be something to look at here. Who knows what the Knicks roster will look like heading back to New York for Game 5? And now's the time to jump on the Indiana Pacers. If you think this might be a coin flip. And only a coin flip because the depth that the Indiana Pacers have off the bench and what depletions the Knicks will have. Plus 186 might be value. Let's move on to the other game today. You have the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. Well, what a weird series. You know, Minnesota comes into Denver, the defending NBA champions of the world, Denver Nuggets, reigning MVP Nikola Jokic, and they kick the shit out of the Nuggets in Denver. And then Denver comes back and handles the Minnesota Timberwolves at home. You know, I squeaked out an over in Game 3. This game is back at 204.5 in the over. You know I'm going to hit that. It's not called the overrated experience because I'm underrating it. It's over, minus 110. 204.5, over. All right? So the Timberwolves are minus 3. Nuggets are plus 3. How do you not look at the value of plus 125 with the Nuggets after what we've seen in Game 3? Is this a road series? Is this what's happening? Did the kick in the ass the Timberwolves gave the Nuggets a wake-up call here in this series? So if you're on board with the Nugget train, the Nikola Jokic train, now is the time to hit it now. Hit it now, because right now if you look at the series, the Nuggets are plus 172. And if you're on the Nuggets series, it's not going to get any better than plus 172 to win this series. All right? It just gave a reality check in Game 3 when the Nuggets came back and won this ball game. So watch out. Watch out. It's gonna be flipping when Denver goes back home into the favor of the Nuggets. So get on the Nikola Jokic nuggie. All right, order a nugget and fries. Sit down and watch this game and put your money on the plus 172. Good series. 8 o'clock Eastern tonight. Well, here's just a formal.
I found this on the web for 8 o'clock.
Shut up, Siri.
Check it out.
Shut up. That's Siri talking smack over here. Celtics, Cavs, right? Really the same blueprint as we've seen in the Heat Celtics series. Oh no. Celtics lose at home Game 2 against the Miami Heat and absolutely beat the crap out of the Heat in Game 3 and the rest of the series. Do we really think it's going to be any different for this series? Does Cleveland have a shot? You know, Boston's back up 2-1 after a 106-93 victory. I mean, the debate might be the spread. If you're into betting big spreads here, I mean, you would have covered yesterday because Boston came down to reality check. Okay? And then you go into the series, it's Boston is minus 10,000 in this series. If you have any inkling of an upset here, the Cleveland has a shot down 2-1 with Game 4 still in Cleveland. Plus 2,500 might be your ticket. $10 on Cleveland to win the series will get you $250. I mean, if you really like pissing away $10, go for it. What do you got to lose? It's like a scratch ticket. You know you're going to lose, but the hope might be there. You might get that big win. You might get those 3 bells. You might get that 3 in a row that sets you into retirement. It's not going to happen here, but it's nice to have hope. So put that $10 on there. Ride it. But I'm not doing that. I wouldn't recommend it. But I mean, if you like, crazy long shots, that's a long shot for you. And if you look at the Game 4 line, Boston's up to an 8-point favorite. Why would Boston not kick the shit out of Cleveland again? Why not? -8. I mean, are we dumb? Is this going to be bet up to 9-10 by the time tip-off on Monday night? So right now, -8 looks kind of juicy, kind of valuable. Something it might take for the Boston Celtics. They tend not to take the foot off the gas. They go. Okay? Plus and 208 for the over-under. I mean, the under might be the play here. I don't know if I'd touch it, but Boston -8 might be that play to make. And finally, if we look at the last series, we have the Mavericks and the Thunder, which is kind of back and forth, and I'm hoping the Thunder have not lost gas here because Dallas took over Game 2. It was competitive in Game 3, but, Dallas has the stars. I know Oklahoma City has, their players, etc., but is it Dallas's time to make the run? Is it Dallas's time to have the Jokic, Kyrie kind of combo to make a run? I think it might. And the line reflects that, -235. And Oklahoma City, +186. Now, I would normally say that would, Oklahoma City, number 1 seed, solid team all around, +186 might be value, but I'm not seeing it here. I don't see a scenario where Dallas doesn't win this series. But what do I know? I could be wrong. This tip-off, Monday, 6 o'clock. And if you look at the line, you have Oklahoma City are 2-point dogs. I think Dallas at -2. There's value there. There's absolute value there. And again, in the fourth quarter, we've seen a drop-off in points being scored. Over-unders 215. I lost, a basket away from getting the over yesterday. And that was a couple key misses in the fourth quarter. The pressure is on. Defense tightens up. You know what I mean? But you're thinking the fourth quarter, would be overs, no problem, because they quickly get into the bonuses, free throws, fouling at the end, fouling, et cetera, et cetera. So just be cautious of the fourth quarter. Maybe again hit the under coming out of the third quarter. But what do I know? I'm an over better. But -2 on Monday night, -106 for the Dallas Mavericks might be the play to make here. Looks kind of juicy. And I don't know if you've seen this after game. Was it yesterday? No, game 3. No, game 3 against Oklahoma City. Or game 2. I can't remember which it was. I don't know if you've seen where Luka was doing a press conference. I've never seen this before or heard this before. He's talking, and there are 2 people having sex. Or you can hear the noise in the background. What is going on? How does that happen? But if you haven't seen it, it's kind of funny. Luka's reaction is kind of funny. But it's something you must see because you've probably never seen it before. If you participated in it, good for you. But I've never seen that before. That's the basketball scene. I mean, the playoffs are running. Again, I'm going to throw out a comment here. I hated the idea that the NHL was pushed back to the same time as the NBA playoffs, because usually NBA was kind of behind the NHL. But I'm loving it. I think that the back and forth at ESPN, TNT, the matchups are kind of going simultaneously is amazing for both sports. I love it. Stick with it. Don't go away from it. It's working. Let's do it. Let's keep it going. Love it. And these second round matchups, usually because the first in both sports fade away. Actually, the NBA gets better because it blowouts in round 1. But both second series have been amazing. So great job for both NHL and NBA. And I don't say that for the NHL a lot. Okay, I don't. Let's keep going. Let's keep going here. Now, heading into this week, a lot of not only obviously NHL and NBA action, but it's time to prepare for the second golf major of the year. Okay? We have the PGA Championship, this golf's second major, and we're heading into Kentucky. That's where it's going to be played. And we have majors, and we're going to look at the odds just heading in. Guess who is the favorite at plus 400? You got it. Masters champion, Scottie Scheffler. This guy is the number. He's on an absolute tear right now. He's the man. Back to back wins the tournament after the green jacket in the Masters. He is in a zone. Rory. I know Rory's like. I think there's a lot. I think Rory falls into that category that people want to see him succeed. But do I see him winning a PGA Championship the way he's playing, at least in majors over the last little while? I don't. I see more odds at Brooks Koepka, who is plus 1,400, and John Rahm, who had a disappointing showing at the Masters, a plus 1,600, well ahead of Rory McIlroy. Okay? So going into the PGA Championship for fun, again, I'd recommend asking a few buddies, a few folks to put in, a few dollars to do an office pool or whatever method you want to Yahoo. And it's fun to watch some golf over the weekend and do a little golf betting to keep your weekend interesting. Should be fun, but PGA Championship absolutely on the radar. All right? And also keep an eye out for you soccer fans out there. Midweek, we have MLS action on Wednesday. We got a full slate, so take a look at that. There's money to be made there. And also, I'll leave you with this. The Europa final and the Champions League final are set going into June or May or late May. So you have the Europa League, May 22nd, 3 p.m. I don't know why they don't move this to a weekend, but Wednesday afternoon, May 22nd, Atlanta, Italian Serie A versus German champion Bayern Leverkusen. Bayern Leverkusen is a minus 120 favorite, but you got that Europa Championship, which is the second tier tournament in Europe. Championship happening on May 22nd, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And you got the granddaddy. You had Real Madrid knock off Bayern Munich in late 2 goals to head to the final, which usually you'll see them every year for the most part, against surprise Borussia Dortmund. I don't see much of a matchup here. And this game is June 1st, by the way, 3 p.m. Saturday, which is awesome. I don't see, Real Madrid's a minus 165. That's 90 minutes. To lift the cup, whether it goes to extra time, they're minus 333. I'm almost inclined to almost bet $333 to win 100 because I don't see a scenario where Borussia Dortmund beats Real Madrid. This is like a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest, or this is like a one-sided fight where one guy's throwing the punches and one guy's taking them. I don't see how Borussia Dortmund stands up against Real Madrid. Real Madrid is simply the best team on the planet, club team on the planet. There is no chance that Borussia Dortmund has here. Man City was the main competition for Real Madrid. That was the only chance that Real Madrid had a chance to fall. This is going to be a one-sided, and it's time to look at props and corners and other things in this betting cycle that's going to make it worthwhile to sit down and watch this game, which I will, but not good. And just all I keep on the radar as well, we got the Euros that are happening this summer, and also we have the Euros kick off June 14th. We're going to probably have a podcast that previews what we like on this, but let's go on the Euros. Let's do it. Let's make some cash. We love the soccer action. Live from Germany, that's where the tournament's taking place. We also have Copa America that's involving Canada, U.S., Brazil, Argentina, etc. All there. Awesome stuff. That kicks off in June as well. So Copa America, first matchup, Canada and Argentina, June 20th. Messi in Canada. Love it. Messi versus Canada, by the way. June 20th. We got things going. So that's it. You've got your flavor of the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast. We'll come back next week whenever we feel like we want to. But let's remember, in this podcast, the pleasure's all been yours, and the Overrated Experience is over and out. Bye-bye.